Welcome to Venture Tale, a game that was requested by one of my community members on Discord. So shoutouts to you, Enigma, because I wouldn't be playing this otherwise. Whether that be a blessing or a curse, this one's on you, buddy. Anyways, if you read the title of the video, you know that I've got some problems with this game. But I don't want to be Negative Nancy all the time, because I actually enjoyed most of my time with Venture Tale, and because of that, I want to talk about the good stuff first, before I start tearing things down. And boy, I will tear things down, because I was totally over this game by the end of it. So anyways, what is Venture Tale? Well, it's pretty simple. Venture Tale is a loot-based fantasy dungeon crawler. The premise is pretty simple. You go into dungeons, you fight enemies, and at the end there's a boss, and if you defeat the boss, you get a chest, and it's got gear in it. You level up your gear, you collect loot, you level up your class proficiencies, and the more you level up, the more stuff you have access to, as well as being able to acquire higher quality gear. It's a concept as old as time, so it's not all that surprising, and it's tried and true. Hundreds, if not thousands of games have taken this formula and made it work. Starting off strong at the beginning, and I feel like the tutorial is very well done, and I'm glad it's here. Oftentimes when I'm playing Roblox games, I'll mention the fact that there either isn't a tutorial and it's completely absent, or the tutorial that's there is just so half-assed that it doesn't tell you anything. But Venture Tale heavily deviates from this norm, giving you a tutorial that covers almost every base that you need to know. There are some things that are notably left out, but none of them are too hard to figure out, other than one specific thing, which admittedly could have just been my fault. This is sort of a spoiler for later on in the video, but if you're on the menu screen to select a dungeon to go to, there's this little options button, and if you click the options button, it allows you to tailor the experience specifically to how you want to play it. You'll be able to do things like increase the enemy level, increase the enemy health, increase the enemy's damage reduction, set it to hardcore mode where if your whole party gets wiped, the entire dungeon resets. Some really interesting stuff here. And the even more interesting stuff is that depending on how much harder you make the levels, it increases the amount of rewards that you get. You'll get more gold, you'll get more XP, that kind of stuff. So overall, this system is great. The only small problem is that it doesn't mention this anywhere as far as I could tell, and so you have to find it by accident. And this can potentially cause one of the issues that I'm going to bring up later. But as of right now, the ability to customize the experience to how you want to play is really cool, something I haven't seen in too many other games, and something that I think should be really appreciated here. Next up on positives, the sound design, which in this game is incredible and something that I think constantly goes under the radar when it comes to games in general. The sound design in Venture Tale is superb. It's way more satisfying to kill enemies when you kill them and you hear a satisfying sound. In my opinion, all the sound effects in the game fit the visuals, and that's something that genuinely cannot be understated is really important in a game. I feel like sound design is one of those things that's really hard to put into words, but when it's done right, it's just incredible. So to whoever did the sound design for this game, hats off to you, because you killed it. And lastly, on positives, I really enjoyed the way that they went about the skills and class proficiencies, as well as your inventory. Basically, there are several classes of weapons in the game, things like swords, shields, axes, bows, etc. And your left and right hands can be swapped to any of those classes that you have unlocked, assuming, of course, that you have a weapon to match. But the cool part about this is, unlike other games where a sword and shield might be the default and you can't swap the shield out for something else, in here you can do wacky things like put on a sword and a magic rod, or a sword and a crossbow. You get the idea. And I just think that idea of being able to dual wield two different weapon classes at all times is super cool. I didn't use it, basically at all, because I'm lame and did Sword and Shield the entirety of my time playing. But if I did play more, I can see myself experimenting more, and I think this just adds a ton of depth to the gameplay. That being said, that's my positives. I'm sure there's a few more that I'm directly forgetting right now just because I'm a bit heated coming off of playing this game, and I'm recording this right after I finished recording the gameplay. But here we go. I feel like there are three main things on the list of negatives that just destroy this game for me. So in no particular order, we're gonna start off with level locks. Because of course we're starting with level locks. Every game under the sun is like, Eclipse, fuck you, we're gonna lock things by level and force you to grind things you've already played over and over again, even if you want to try something that's harder and maybe out of your depth. Do you want to try that? Will you maybe get killed? Fuck you, we won't even let you try. And you know what? That's bullshit. That frustrates me on so many levels. But I think the real reason for the level lock is to waste your goddamn time. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I don't know what else it could be other than to waste your time. And really, now that I think about it, basically all of the problems that I have with this game are relegated to the game trying to waste your time. So that's going to be a theme here. Wasting your time is the biggest problem with this game. But in more specifics, the level locks are really frustrating. There's something that can be sort of bypassed if you decide to up the difficulty via the modifiers I was talking about earlier on the earlier levels in order to get more XP so you don't have to grind them as many times. But just to put it into perspective, it took me about an hour to get past the very first level. I played the first level over and over again for about an hour. Now, to the game's credit, the dungeon isn't the same every single time. There's multiple layouts for a dungeon, so even if you're playing the Goblin Dungeon on easy, they'll have different layouts for it, and there's a fair few. That being said, no matter how many different layouts they have, it's the same enemies over and over again, and the same boss every time, which by the 7th time playing through this, you're gonna know exactly how to destroy, and it won't stand a chance. So it's just a waste of your time. And during this whole hour, I was thinking to myself, this is gonna be miserable, I wanna die, how long am I gonna force myself to play this? But I continued because I was enjoying the gameplay, and I was looking forward to getting to some of the other bosses in the game. There's something I missed out on my positives, but it's not really a positive, it's more like a positive and a negative. All of the boss fights that I fought against were pretty cool, but they had a shitload of problems, something that we'll get to. Anyways, point being, level locking everything is a real pain in the ass. And it's something that almost sort of sorts itself out later in the game and makes me question even more why it's in the game. And that's because the further along you get in the game and the higher level that you get, the more unlocks that you get when you hit a certain milestone. What I mean by this is when you level up to the first level gate, you unlock the ability to play on normal mode on the Goblin Dungeon, as well as easy mode on the Spider Crawly Forest. I don't remember what the hell it's called. And normally you'd think here, oh, the Goblin Dungeon on normal, real cool, up the health, you know, yada yada yada. But no, when you get to the end of the Goblin Dungeon on normal, there's a new boss. That's really cool. And guess what? When you hit the next level gate, you unlock hard mode on the Goblin Dungeon, new boss, normal mode on the Forest Dungeon, new boss, and easy mode on the next dungeon, new boss. So let me get this straight. The further that you get in the game, the faster you unlock things. Did the people who make this game never play a free-to-play game in their life? Because usually what you're supposed to do is try to hook people by giving them a bunch of stuff up front and then slowing it down after they've gotten addicted to the gameplay. Not make it so that way they're bored to death at the beginning and they only get to have fun if they suffer through a ridiculous grind. I'm just like, did I play different games than people who are developing games on Roblox? And more so, are the people that are playing these games on Roblox, are they playing different games than I used to do? Or did the philosophy for free-to-play games just degrade a lot since the last time that I played one? Because admittedly, I don't play a lot of free-to-play games nowadays. When I was a kid, I played tons. And like I said, in all of those games, you got a shitload of stuff up front because they wanted to get you hooked on the game. Not absolutely nothing at the beginning and you get bored to death and quit. But that's what's happening. Next problem with this game, and it's not even really a problem with this game, it's a problem with Roblox, but I can't not mention it because it's still a problem. And it makes playing the game miserable at times. That problem is Roblox's netcode itself. I know that there's nothing the game developers can do about this, But then again, you should probably be considering those things when you decide to go make a game like this. What do I mean when I say that Roblox's netcode sucks? Well, just take a look. Does it look like I got hit by this attack? Because I didn't get hit by this attack, but I took damage anyway. This is more than just a problem with attacks hitting you when they shouldn't. It's also consistently a problem with dodge rolls and your block. If you're using a shield, sometimes it'll feel like your shield is useless because you'll hit the button to block and you'll still take damage. This becomes even more of a problem on some of the later bosses where their attacks are readable, but they come out really fast. And they come out too fast for Roblox's latency to update, and so even if you block or do a dodge roll at the correct timing, you're still gonna get hit. Like I said earlier, I thought the boss fights in this game were the best part about it, but they're the best part about it and the worst part about it, because unfortunately, a lot of the time, you'll just be constantly getting nicked by attacks that you should have avoided. There's nothing more frustrating than doing the correct option and then getting punished for it. It sucks too because the AI in this game is unlike a lot of the other Roblox games that I've played where it will actually miss. It's clear that they programmed the AI so that way it was actually avoidable and you can use dodges and stuff like that to not get hit. Even just your standard fodder enemies you can kite around and if you're smart, avoid or block their attacks. I've played a lot of crappy Roblox JoJo games, and in all of those crappy Roblox JoJo games, the AI basically can't screw up. It won't miss, it perfectly tracks you, a lot of the time it's faster than you, it runs at a set speed, like, you get the idea. And I understand, AI is hard, and I don't knock those games for their AI almost ever, because I understand that AI is hard, and I don't envy the people that are working on AI. The AI here is good, and it works, but then you have the problem of Roblox itself basically giving the developers the middle finger and making their game that was well made not work. And you know what? That really sucks. And finally, what's the last problem that I have with this game? It's the fucking timer. Yeah, you might not have noticed by now, but there's a timer when you enter a dungeon. I can tell you I didn't notice until I got fucked by it. And then it fucked me again, and then it fucked me again. The timer is what made me rage quit this game. Fuck the timer. I don't know whose idea it was to put the timer in the game to begin with, because all it does is punish you for playing smart. If you take your time, you don't bum rush, you avoid attacks, and you just generally play well on a harder difficulty, fuck you, you failed. What a load of shit. And what do you get for failing? Nothing. Reset back to the beginning. Waste another 10 minutes of your time, dumbass. Now, like I said, I didn't even notice the timer was a problem. That's because the timer doesn't really start screwing you over until you get to level 11. Once you've gotten to level 11, if you're anything like me, you want to try all of the new levels. You want to try the new bosses, right? So you jump in there, and damn, these levels are a lot harder. The enemies take more hits, they do more damage, you really need to be on your A game, and it takes a while to fight through all the enemies to get to the boss. I was so excited playing through the bandit level, I couldn't wait to see what the boss was gonna be. I got to what I can only assume is the last room of enemies, and I was fighting them, and then all of a sudden, the game stopped. I was like, what the fuck? Why did the game stop? Oh, I ran out of time. So okay, I ran out of time on this level. That's a dumbass mechanic, but at the very least, I'll go try the other one. So I play it, this time conscious of the timer, and I constantly get close to death because I'm afraid of running out of time. But I make it with pretty good amounts of time remaining. I make it all the way to the boss in the forest level. It's a giant spider. The boss fight seems really cool. I'm in the middle of fighting it, and guess what fucking happens? The goddamn timer again! I can't catch a break! So great, I won't be fighting the boss on the bandit level, I won't be fighting the boss on the forest level. Ah man, I wonder what's gonna happen on this next level. Yep, go to the hard goblin level, get all the way to the end, and here's the boss. Great, boss fight's looking really cool. It's like a puppet master. He sends a bunch of minions after you, and then at the midpoint, he gets up and starts attacking you normally. Now I could of course discuss the fact that you can't avoid his attacks because they don't actually match the hitboxes because of Roblox, but none of that fucking matters because here's the goddamn timer again! Fuck you! You lose! Go back to the beginning! Are you kidding me? I haven't been this worked up about a game in a long time. So shoutouts to the people behind Venture Tale because they really managed to rile me up. When was the last time you remembered hearing me like this? Because I genuinely can't remember. It's been a long time. Point is, the game tries to waste your time. It feels like a waste of time at this point. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to come and they're going to tell me, Eclipse, this is your fault. You did this to yourself. This is a team-oriented game. You can enter into dungeons with other people, and because of that, this is your fault. You screwed yourself. You should have brought people with you. Well, here's the problem with that. The problem with that is this game doesn't have a very large population. Now, I can kind of see why. Most people join in, they play the first hour and go, okay, I'm bored and not getting anywhere, and they quit. But because of the low population, the odds of being able to find somebody that's at my level to play this with me, or multiple people for that matter, is very low. And it's not like I'm gonna go around asking level 40s who will gain basically nothing from helping me to help me out with this level. And frankly, I shouldn't have to do that. If the game was clearly designed to be completable by solo players all the way up until the level 11 point, why at that point does it just hard roadblock you? Like seriously, I was talking about modifiers earlier. The game was too easy for me to the point where I had to make it harder. And then I get to here, and on the default easiest setting, it's impossible. How did we go from too easy to impossible in one step? On every level. Like listen, if the new level was doable and the two previous ones that I unlocked new difficulties to were too hard, then I'd be a little bit okay with that. But why are all of them impossible? I got audibly frustrated, said fuck this, and I alt F4'd the game. And it's probably gonna stay that way because, unfortunately, as Enigma told me in his own message, the game is currently on hiatus. They haven't updated it since Christmas. I don't know what the future of the game holds. I think it does have genuine promise, but unfortunately, I just don't see the developers going through and making the necessary efforts to make the game more accessible for newer players and solo players. There's even just some really simple things that make no sense, like the difficulty sliders specifically rewarding you more for easier levels. I can't remember the exact specifics, but if you put the game on like heroic mode, you get less resources at the end than if you put it on hardcore and increased some sliders. So, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Stuff like the level slider seriously increases the difficulty of enemies, but barely gives you any extra reward compared to just putting up the damage on enemies and leaving the level alone. Overall, the game just has its problems, and it's probably just gonna die out in a few months. And that really is kind of unfortunate. I think the people who worked on this had passion for their game, and were excited to make it, and I think it'll be a shame to see it go. But sometimes, I guess life just gets in the way. Anyways, if you want to play the game, you think it looks fun, if you have nothing better to do and you just want to waste some time, I think this is a genuinely decent time waster, so I'll throw the link in the description. But with that being said, I am done here. So if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.